Καλησπέρα.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Καλησπέρα και από εμένα.
So, good afternoon from me as well.
Και ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ.
I wish to truly thank you. My name is Litsa Panayotopoulos. I'm the chair of the Education-Innovation-Entrepreneurship Committee of the American-Hellenic Chamber of Commerce. And I'm also the cashier of AmCham. As Mr. Kafatos was saying, it is indeed a privilege and a great pleasure for us to kick off this forum together with Deputy Minister Evangelos Syrigos. Education is a very important topic. Not just education in schools, but education in the greater society, because it is education that generates growth and societal development in an era when we have to come to grips with all those difficult situations, be it COVID, Ukraine, war, or what have you. What all societies need, no matter where they are located, is for each citizen, for each human being to have the education-based powers that are necessary for us to be able to provide development and growth. In the context of the second TFTD, it's an honor for me to be starting this first forum with Deputy Minister Syrigos. Thank you very much, Mr. Syrigos, for honoring us with your presence here this afternoon. I know that you have a very tight agenda. I know that this is a tough period for all of us, and I know about the bill that you have tabled in Parliament with regard to all those controversial education issues. And of course, we could spend more than one day talking about those issues. With regard to higher education, for example, but from nursery school onwards to primary school to secondary school, personalities have been shaped already. So higher education students are tomorrow's citizens who are going to build the Greece of tomorrow. So whether we accept it or not, we know that Greece has a plethora of internationally recognized universities. So let's start our discussion with regard to this bill with you. Would you like to tell us what's your take on the situation and how you feel about higher education? We know that there are research findings hidden away in several drawers. So would you like to discuss that too? You have the floor.
Σας έχουμε μαζί.
Κυρία Παναγιωτοπούλου, είναι δική μου τιμή που είμαι σήμερα και συνομιλούμε για αυτό το.
Thank you, Mrs. Panayotopoulos. It's an honor for me as well. Let me tell you about what has already been accomplished. You are right in saying that universities and research centers generate knowledge. Until some months ago, we used to have a strict framework within which those corpora of knowledge could be used by the universities. We had our copyright law, and everything was so very restrained Can you still hear me? I felt like I was getting cut off. I had this terrible sound. I had it too, Mrs. Panayotopoulos is saying. Well, technology is here with us with its good and its bad side. So, some months ago, we passed a bill on spin offs which can build upon university research. Spin offs are called εταιρείες τεχνοπλαστή in Greek, and their characteristic is that they, they are growth enablers. Let me give you an example. With regard to the legislation governing spin offs, right now it is crystal clear what one needs to do in order to establish their copyright. So, a researcher or a faculty member that is interested can form part of such a spin-off. Rector councils in Greece do not have many members, so they can take fast steps. In the past, we used to have age-long demands. So, anyone forming part of this research effort, including university students, can now attain this new kind of results through spin-offs, that is. For example, it's now possible for the researchers to start using university labs. In other words, this law is going to enable us to totally reshape our university research ecosystem. The new bill that has been tabled is kind of scary size-wise because it is 350 because it is a 350 article long bill, and therein one finds research topics which include the modernization of research funds, the so-called ELKE funds. Unfortunately, however, the problem in this case is that all this has to be subject to public finances, state finances, but we are trying our best with regard to simplification. I will stop here for you to come in. Well, I can understand that there are very many things to be said in that regard. Indeed, spin-offs are important. Israel has the same experience because their universities are able to set up spin-offs. In this way, it's possible for Greece's young people to stay in the country. So we have the possibility to ward off brain drain and turn it into brain regain. As you have been saying, this is what the market is looking forward to. Startups are being established in our universities. I am a member of the international MBA team for some of Greece's universities. Up till now, it was not possible for a university faculty member to have internship students. So what can we do in order to provide the market with the skills that they need? Well, I have the bill right in front of me here, so it does provide for what you said about brain drain. About 500,000 young people left Greece in the past 10 years. So they completed their studies in Greece and then they abandoned Greece to go and work abroad. So we have to try and bring them back while building bridges toward the Greek university system. In our new law, Chapter K is about the additional teaching and research staff. We will have European Research Council seats, and their holders will have the possibility to obtain a respective place in Greek universities. It will also be possible for companies, agencies, or even private citizens to provide a specific large amount of money in order to have a branded seat, a seat that is a university seat bearing the respective name. It will now be possible for researchers to have specific terms of office. We are giving opportunities to postdoctoral researchers as well. Of course, we're not expecting that young people who are so successful abroad will just abandon everything and come here in order to join the Greek turbulent landscape. So the possibility for us to have cooperating faculty members, the possibility to have faculty members that will come to teach here in Greek universities for only 6 months, up to 3 years, without undertaking any lifelong commitments. Postdoctoral researchers exist, of course, already, but they only have to do with EU programs. So you see, there are very many positive provisions in this law. Of course, this does not mean that all of Greece's universities will comply with all those provisions, but they have the possibility to choose to make a choice. So the question for me is, where do I want Greek universities to be 25 years from now? And I want them to be open-minded. I want them to be endowed with many different systems or capacities, as Anglo-Saxons call them. So capacity in Greek has been rendered as choretikotita or dinatodites, and this means someone's potential to adjust to the changing circumstances. The financial envelopes that are here must be used for research. Well, Mr. Syrigos, I think that all those provisions should have been voted on and implemented for many years now. Regarding the bridges that you mentioned, this is what Greek university faculty members are already doing abroad. So if our universities and our university students understand this concept, then Greece will be following a different path. Bridge building is necessary because people who have been abroad, people who have enjoyed a different living standard for their families as well, will now have the option of coming over for a finite amount of time. And this is going to be good for the growth of our businesses. If we compare our universities and our very own university students say so whenever they go abroad in the context of an Erasmus project. So they say that our universities do excel. So perhaps it is by means of close cooperation that our businesses, our business community will provide its own guidance. So my question is whether you agree with this, because I think that if the intellectual property is there, then we will have the required capacity, because the because International MBA of Greece's Economics University is a reality. So would you say that it is on this basis that Greek universities could be an innovation think tank for Southeastern Europe earlier than 25 years from now? Well, 25 years is my own dream horizon. Of course, I know that you are a proponent of innovation. So what we are doing now is drafting the strategy. Let me give you an example. Let's say I'm a business owner and I speak from experience. Let's say that I'm a business owner and I want to find out about the resilience of concrete whenever it's used in the building sector. Greece's technical universities have excellent laboratories in that regard, where very many students examine the strength of building materials. Up till now, I cannot ask any Greek university for such a certificate on the basis of the law, the respective law that was passed in 1980. I would have to engage in a tedious and lengthy procedure with no certification or standardization. I would have to pay the money to ELKE and then continue with the recirculation of the paperwork. So it's now possible for you, we are making it possible for university laboratories to work together with the businesses. And I will give you another example regarding the so-called industrial doctoral degrees. Of course, this does not mean that they are produced in an industrial fashion. This means that they are drafted in cooperation with the industry sector.
Δεν έχω τη δυνατότητα.
I can't give too much money as a business for research and development. I don't have the laboratories to create such projects, but a researcher can be funded by the state through an EU project and also partly funded by a private company, so that we have a PhD in applied science. That will be truly innovative. And it wouldn't just be theory, it would be very concrete in terms of specific outcomes. So this should be the objective. This should be the objective of this doctoral research. Unfortunately, as we said, I would like to have the whole day, but we have a couple of minutes left. So I would like to hear your views on what I asked earlier, and something more about you said about intellectual properties. This is something that the ministry is well aware of. It's a tool, a guide for all these spin-offs, for intellectual property rights and businesses and everything. So we are there, we're next to you, we're supporting you. So my last question, with all this information and about the new bill that I hope will be voted and will pass, and unfortunately nothing is going to be implemented, and we hope that the Businessmen Council will also be present in universities, and at some point we will be able to become a tank of thought and promotion of education and innovation in Southeastern Europe. Could we do that? A personal thing. My wife was an expert in the EU who, about 10 years ago, promoted the idea of spin-offs. And I used her knowledge when we prepared this new law, and she was surprised that things were not in the Greek higher education system. And she said, how can that be? How do people move ahead? And your university is really in the forefront of these initiatives. A second point, can we be the future thinking tank? A characteristic of the Greek people, which is both good and bad. One of my professors told me some years ago when I was a student in the UK. He said, one Greek, a miracle, 10 Greeks, a tragedy. In Japan, one Japanese, a tragedy, 10 Japanese, a miracle. So we don't have the culture of cooperating. That's what that means. We have the opportunity now through this law to learn to work collectively. And when we have people with exceptional abilities who really move forward, are given the abilities and the skills to move forward. I believe with the foreign language programs that we're going to set up are going to be very important. It's very nice to hear about Greece and the fact that we are a hub, etc. But what can you do if we don't have an English-speaking, English language programs of study, BAs and MAs? Since we open up the way for such programs, I think we will be able to continue in the Balkans to be what we have been for over 200 years. Pioneers who bring to Southeast Europe the light, in quotes, about what is going on in the Western world. Mr. Syrigos, these are very positive messages, messages that at last we are going to implement what is called cooperation and synergies and learn what it means and truly put forward what we need from the last citizen to the person who has a PhD or any other degree. Thank you very much. I believe that through this 2 days we will be able to pave new ground, and I think we managed to pass the messages, and we hope that our universities and mainly businesses will embrace and implement these new ideas. The Chamber and all of us are really struggling for this. Thank you very much. I wish you the best of success with the new law, and we'll be in touch. Ms. Panayotopoulos, it was a great pleasure to have a discussion with you on these issues. Given your course in the field of innovation, strategy in businesses, entrepreneurship, education all these years. It was a great honor. Thank you very much. It was my honor because I've really been following closely your work. Thank you very much, and thank you on behalf of the Chamber.